For 60 years this year. 14 years old. I got my ticket a long time, so you can figure out my age. A little bit more about me. I've loved this hobby from the day that I got my first ticket. I used to date a little girl in high school whose father, or in grade school, whose father worked for Caterpillar Tractor. He's an engineer, and in his basement he had a world-class station, and the first time I saw that, I knew this was for me. I mean, there was no question, and after I saw that station, I knew I wanted to become an electrical engineer. I'd never had any doubt. So I attended Bradley University a long time ago, got an electrical engineering degree, and then followed it with an MBA. And I've been retired 4 years now, and I worked exclusively in the power generation business for only 3 companies my whole career. And my last job was Executive Vice President of Business Development for Toshiba International Corporation. I had that job for 25 years, and I loved it. Ham radio has been probably the best thing in my life. I've had a lot of hobbies. I still have a lot of interests, but one thing that has been pervasive, consistent all the way through has been ham radio. I've been into sailboat racing. I've got a commercial airline, a commercial pilot license. I used to fly a lot of airline. I hung up my cleats a couple of years ago because I'm getting too old, and it's been good to me. But ham radio has been with me every year for 60 years, and I love it. And the reason I got into it was because of DXing. And I don't know what the exact number is, but I know in the U.S. we actually, over the last couple, 3 years, have had a net increase in ham radio operators. We're up plus or minus 800,000 in the U.S. now. As compared to Japan, 10 years ago had 1.2 million. They're down to about 450,000 now. Worldwide, ham radio operators are around 3 million, maybe a little short of 3 million. There's countries growing, there's countries receding or whatever, but the good news is, out of that 3 million, the U.S. has solidly 800,000. I don't know how many of all those hams work DX, okay? I've had debates with a lot of, I have no idea. You can't go to look at contests because really, when you compete in contests, it's very small numbers. You're in the 6 sigma on the bell-shaped curve. It's usually people with very high-powered, highly expensive stations with Yankees up 100 feet and running a KW, whatever. You know, that's not the majority of hams that are in our hobby. If you look at the bell-shaped curve, most of the hams are in the 2 sigma level. The greater population that have long wire antennas, you know, they have austere stations. A lot of them don't have linear amplifiers. That's where the meat of our hobby is, actually. Go walk out there and just talk to some people. Now, the reason I mention that is because we are now entering cycle 25, and in the sunspot cycle, and it's coming in like a lion. I mean, it's roaring in. I have a curve, and I'll show you here. It is ahead, significantly ahead in terms of propagation. That's what I'm talking about. Significantly ahead of what the forecast. And as a result of that, there's a lot of people jumping on DX. A lot of people. You can get on 10 meters, you know, with 100 watts and work the world like many cycles ago, 18, 17, when I was in high school, same thing. You know, 10 watts, you can work halfway around the world. Cycle 25 has that kind of potential. It's huge. And the good news is it's going to be around probably for another 6 years, maybe 8 years. So it's a good time to work DX if you're interested in DX. And I'm not poo-pooing people that are involved in UHF and VHF. I won't mention any names, but we're trying to convince him, Mr. Lou here, but
there's no convincing. I need the
you need an
capability to put an
antenna.
antenna.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to get going with this because of our time and whatever. I'll probably skip through some of these, but I'm going to hit on some of the salient points. So I guess I've started, and we have hams that have been in our hobby for many years. They got 5-band DXCCs, they got honor rolls and whatever, and they're saying, why should I work any more DX? I've done it all. I've worked all 340 countries, all 40 zones. I've done it all. Hold that thought for a second, because this program is something that can offer those people a lot of enjoyment, okay? Then we have the new hams, or we have the hams that's within that bell-shaped curve. Maybe don't have a lot of money. They can't afford exotic equipment, big towers and Yagis and linear amplifiers. Or we have HOA restricted hams, which is becoming a big deal these days, especially in our state here in Florida. What do I do for an antenna? I can put one in my attic, okay? So my point here is that we've got a broad spectrum of people within our hobby. Oops, I got to remember, I got to pull towards me to advance. So the DXer has a dilemma if you identify with any one of those groups. And this quote up here, we need a program for all DXers. If you're a veteran and you got it all, or you're a new ham that's coming in, or if you're an HOA, or you don't have a whole lot of money, this is the program I'm going to talk about today. And when you walk out of here, I'm hoping that you'll say, yeah, I can do that. Okay, let me just skip ahead here. Okay, what is DX Marathon? I can say today that is the fastest growing program in ham radio for DXers. There's nothing else that's growing. We grew year over year, and when I say grow, you'll see, I'll explain in a little bit. You work DX the whole year and then you submit at the end of the year. And then what we do, and our staff, is we count how many country entities and how many zones you work, okay? There's no other program, no other contest that exists that grew even close to our rate. Between 21 and 22, calendar year 21 and 22, we grew 32%. As measured by number of submissions, that is, number of participants. Our queues grew within those submittals from 145 to 216,000 in 1 year. And you know what? I'm convinced we're going to do that again this year and maybe again next year. This program, my vision for this program in 2 or 3 years is to double or triple the program, and I think that's entirely feasible. Okay. What is the DX Marathon? What is DX Marathon? It's an annual program where you go out and you work countries and you work zones. And assuming you have some logging program, you're going to record those. You don't even have to have a logging program. You still use paper logs, you can do that too. Okay? One big advantage is we do not require confirmations. No LOTW confirmation, no QSL. That's, as we all know, we've all been through it. That can be a real hassle. Don't worry about it. The word, hopefully when you walk away from this, is you're going to say, this is simple. This is a simple program. You don't have to enter the program at the beginning of the year. It starts January 1st, it ends December 31st, okay? You can accumulate your logs on December 30th, go to our tools to prepare a submission form and submit them between January 1st and January 5th. You're done. You have participated in the program. Very simple. We do have awards in the program, but I've been in the program for like 6 years now. I don't need, as long as I've been in ham radio, and as much as I've done in ham radio, I don't need any more plaques and I don't need any more certificates. But I love this program, and the reason I participated in it, I once had a MBA professor say, if you can't measure something, don't do it. But if you're in industry or whatever, if you can't put a metric on it, you know, you engage in a project and this is going to return so and so and so and so. You got to go back. Unlike our government, you got to go back and see if it achieved what you intended to achieve. The reason I do it is because I like to compare my own personal best each year. And I can say my last year of participation was from 2022 because as administrator of this program now I pulled myself out, which is fair, and my scoring manager, he can't compete. My other helpers can. I went from a total, and you'll see these numbers in a second, of about 175 to 281 in 1 year. Now 281, I got 1 point for each country I worked, and I got 1 point for each zone I worked. So subtract 40 and you'll have the number of countries I worked, okay? So I do it. Now, if you are a competitive sort, if you're a contest, and there's nothing that precludes you participating in contests, you can do that concurrent. In fact, you can use the results of a contest to expand your zone and your country total. No problem. I've been doing it for many years. So I haven't given up contesting, but you can use it as an aid to pumping up your overall score on the DX Marathon program. As I said, some people do compete. I mean, they are fierce competitors around the world. This is a world program. We have participants all over the world. Okay, it's not a U.S. program. All right. As I said, no complicated rules.
The touch screen.
Yeah, if you touch the screen.
I just realized that.
I'll tell you what, I want one of these. Pretty cool. No complicated rules, simple, and it's a year-long global event. I already mentioned that. Okay. What's the history? I'm going to go through this really quick. Believe it or not, it's been around a long time. It was started back here in 1939 with the magazine that preceded CQ magazine. It was called Radio Magazine.
Oh yeah.
You remember that? I sort of do. It was suspended after 1 year operation because World War II came along, and then it was rejuvenated for 1 year, and then they dropped it. And in 1949, CQ Worldwide and DXCC came. Now, I guess the powers to be at the time just said, hey, we don't need another program. So it got dropped. In 2005, this guy right here, Bob Loker, he's written 2 books on DXing. If you haven't got them, read them. It's done a lot different today than it was when he was in 2005 because of all the aids that we have, FT8 and everything else. It's done different. But he reconstituted. He went to CQ magazine. He says, "Hey, I want to reconstitute this." So he wrote the rules and he kicked it off. But he was smart enough to realize, I don't think I can administer this program. So he went out and he recruited a hero, John Sweeney, K9EL, who he's in the Chicago area, from 2005 until December 31st of 2021, he was the singular guy that administered this program. He did everything. He had help. He had people that were computer smart. He's very computer smart to write the scoring software and everything else to generate the plaques and the certificates and everything else. One-man operation. So I know John through a mutual friend of mine in Palm Beach County. I've known him for years, and he wrote a blast out to all participants at the beginning of 2022. He says, "Hey guys, I burn out. This is my last year." So I made the mistake of picking up the phone. I said, "John, what are you doing?" I said, I retired 3 years ago. I said, I might be interested in this. So I spent about an hour on the phone with him, and after that hour, I said, "NFW, I can't do this. I will not have a life." I like balance in my life, unlike my previous life where I was a workaholic and I was crazy. I do everything in excess, nothing in moderation. And I said, I just can't do this, John. But I have an idea. I've been an EVP. I built a company part of a company from $50 million to over $500 million in 10 years. And I said, I think I have an idea, okay? So the idea is what I'm gonna talk about here. I said, if you will allow me to put an organization together of volunteers, I think we can pull this off with your help. And that's basically what I did. I formed a board of directors, and they're worldly, New Zealand, South America, all the other ones are US. I'm no dummy either. I made these members, they're non-voting members of the board, emeritus. I put Bob on and these guys because they got a world of knowledge in this program. So I formed a board, but really this is the heart of the program. John and I recruited 5 other, John wrote me a process chart. I said, John, what do you do in this program? He wrote me a process chart. From that process chart, I did job descriptions and categorized all the functions that he was doing. And this is what I came up with. Scoring manager, gotta have a scoring manager, an IT manager, because there's a lot of software that has to change. I need an IT manager, I need a communications manager, I need a rules and compliance manager, and I need an awards manager. I found all these guys, and they're all in place, and I can confidently tell you right now, we're 6 months ahead of where I thought we would be, just because of the talent of these guys. They're phenomenal people. This guy, scoring manager, Larry, 32-year IBMer. He writes code. He's done this all his life. It's absolutely incredible. So I'm really pleased. I did one more thing. I got an advisory board because this is an international program. I recruited guys that had been participating in this program for many years, okay? So I know they're committed to the program, but they were in the different zone areas. I just use these as a sounding board. If we're going to change the rules, which we're probably going to do in 2024, I'm going to use them to bounce it off to make sure in their region it's not going to be a problem for them. So enough about organization. Okay, why participate? Ham radio is DXing for most of us. I don't know what the numbers are. DX Marathon challenges us to work the world every year. The clock resets on January 1st. You work as many country and zone entities as you can. On December 31st, the clock stops, you tabulate it, and you start again in January 1st. Okay. No QSLs, simple, simple, simple. It does provide an incentive to remain active, you know? It's not crazy like a contest where you got to sit down like a zombie over a weekend for 48 consecutive hours. It's a marathon. You run this program the whole year long. You know, if you don't operate for 2 weeks, no problem. Just pick it up again. So there's no pressure. You know, it's very simple. Ideal for clubs. We have 132 clubs that submitted combined scores of their clubs. And I'm going to introduce a plaque. In fact, I've already done it. I got a sponsor for the top club in the world. Whoever gets achieved, we're going to make a real nice plaque for that club. Okay, so that's why. How does it work? You get on the air and chase the X. That's it. That's it. At the end of the year, you complete the entry form. You upload it on our webpage, which I'll give to you in a second. We use the DXCC entities, which is 340 country entities, and then we add the World Europe entities, which are these 6. Bear Island, ITU in Vienna, European Turkey. You know, Turkey has 2 calls. You got European Turkey, which is TA1, and you got the rest of Turkey, which is TA2 through 9. Okay, so they add this as a separate entity. We add it. IT Sicily, Shetland Islands, and Italian Africa. So we have 340 plus 340, plus 6, 346, plus 40 zones. 1 point for everything you work. And a zone entity, if you happen to work Nepal, okay, zone 38, whatever, that can count as your country and it can count as your zone. Okay? Very simple.
Nepal's in 22.
What's that?
Nepal is in zone 22.
22, I'm sorry.
Okay, but you lose a point.
Right. That's why we got QRZ and WX4WIN or whatever to assign the zone numbers, so why we don't have to remember these in our mind. Here's the other, these next 2 slides is going to make this just encompassing, and I defy anybody to say, well, I can't do this or I don't have an interest in this. what we try to do, and we're going to do some refining in 2024 on this, but we try to create level playing fields so that these classes, if you want to be a QRP guy, you compete against QRP people, 5 watts with a certain antenna structure. If you want to be unlimited, you know, like my station, 100-foot tower, stacked, Navasa, JK 3040, 160, 80, unlimited. Linear, full legal limit, you can compete in this. So you pick where you are best suited, and that's your category. And then you compete against like equipped hams all over the world. So that's the first attribute. The second attribute that we build in is, you know, we have some people that says, I got a good friend of mine, okay, who's been a ham longer than I have, and Norm Alexander, W4QN, he loves sideband, he loves code, and he says, I'm not interested in FT8. That's okay, you can participate, and he did in 2019, and he achieved 317 points, which is an all-time high in CW. So you can pick the mode that you want to compete in, or you can compete on all of them. I compete everything, FT8, sideband, CW, RIDI, I lump them all in. And so you've got multiple modes, and you can also pick a band. Let's say you just want to compete this year on a 160 meter band, or 80 meter, or 6 meters, or 30 meters. Pick a band, and you will be then in a category compared to like selected people all over the world. It's yours to pick. So again, you choose what you feel you really want to do, okay? Simple, simple, simple. You use a single transmitter receiver. I have a remote site. I lived 6 months of my life in Colorado. I have an HF station out there. I can't use both stations to participate in this program. I can register the station out there and participate. I can register my station in Florida and participate, but I can't combine the two. One transmitter, one receiver. I pretty much said this, and I said that too. This, I note here, a lot of the stuff I'm just going to breeze over because I don't have time, but we have a website, a brand new one that's going to be introduced in mid-February that Sebastian has written for us. But right now, www.dxmarathon.com. That has everything that you ever want to know about this program. It's a wealth. John put a lot of time and effort into it, but it's a great resource to look at. This is what the entry form. It's an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm just going to highlight and skip the next 3 or 4 slides. If you've got a logging program, I use DX Labs, DX Keeper, but if you use Ham Radio Deluxe or whatever you use, if you use N1MM, it doesn't matter. Any logging program, all you have to do is be able to sort on your 2023 queues and generate an ADIF file. That's it. Now, you take the ADIF file, we've got a couple conversions that you can plug it in, and it spits out, it fills this whole form out. All you've got to do is fill in this top entry, which is your call sign, name, street, and what class you're in. And we're going to probably automate this maybe this year, but for sure for 2024. That's it. That's your submittal. You zip it up to our website, it says submission, and then we score it. That's it. Very simple. I said verification, honor system. Our whole program is based on the integrity of our participants. Now, you say, do we have cheaters? Yeah, we have cheaters. But John has taught us ways to catch cheaters. Trust me, you can probably cheat. You might be able to get by with it, but we're probably going to catch you, okay? We use a lot of different techniques. We use Club Log, for example, and we particularly look at those high-scoring people in the categories, you know. We don't require verification, but if we check 1 or 2 of your calls, and we have, Larry's writing code to do this, we don't even have to do it. It'll spit it out. Hey, this guy wasn't in Club Log, but he claimed to have worked this DXpedition. It's going to flag it for us. So we do enough. John's even gone so far, there's some antenna restrictions in the limited class. You can have antenna height up to 65 feet, and if you're using a long wire, it can be 135 feet long. That's it. John's taken satellite pictures through Google Earth and caught people that were lying. So, you know, we have ways. And it's not, this is a hobby. You know, we're not trying to be policemen, but we realize that because we don't require confirmations, the integrity of the program and the fairness of the program is based on everybody being honest. If cheating becomes rampant, people will say, I'm out. I'm not interested. I'm competing against cheaters. So it's important for us to make sure that everybody stays honest. And you'll see some numbers I'll show you in a second here. The incident of cheating is really small, really, really small. Most people are very honest. And violation, unless it's a violation, I'm working with my compliance and rules manager. You know, I'm a believer, sort of conservative, but I'm a believer laws are written for purposes. And if you break the law, you've got to have consequences. You can't just ignore something when you break the rules, okay? So we're working on some things. Again, we don't want to be policemen. Hey, we're in a hobby, this is fun. But if somebody just persistently is breaking the rules, we got to figure out a way to handle that person.
A wall of shame.
Huh?
A wall of shame.
Yeah, publish their names, yeah. But believe me, a lot of the people that help us keep people honest, they self-police each other. There's a guy in Brazil that we know, and he gets reported by some of his peers because they know he's cheating, okay? He'll claim cues when it's impossible. We had a guy in California that claimed a cue on, you gotta use some logic when you're looking at 160 meters in the middle of the day with a European entity. Hey, propagation gods don't allow that to happen. Come on, give me a break. You know, so, I mean, you gotta get, if you're gonna cheat, be a smart cheater, don't be a stupid cheater. We have plaques, I'm advancing the numbers here, and we have certificates, and I've got some ideas on how we're gonna change that, because, you know, we got a lot of people participating, and everybody likes recognition, so I'm thinking about maybe looking at different levels. I mean, your first year in, you may work 150 entities, okay, or 120 or 100. Okay, my idea is to maybe produce a plaque, and maybe like ARRL does on DXCC, you get a sticker, you know? Each time you achieve a higher milestone and improve yourself, we recognize that. So that's not in place now, but that's where I'm headed with the program. I talked about this wall plaques. I've added 2 wall plaques. I got 2 getting sponsors. A sponsor, a club, okay, is $100 for a plaque. It covers transportation costs plus the plaque, $100. And I'm doing Zoom meetings like 3 or 4 a week now. And just last week, I got 3 new sponsors. They just stepped up and said, yeah, because we needed a sponsor for 160 meters. We were given a certificate, and we needed one for 6. And I wanted to upgrade the youth plaque. We have a youth category for 20 young men and women, 25 years and younger. I wanted to upgrade that from a certificate to a plaque. Boom, somebody stepped up and said, we'll sponsor it. So we have, it doesn't cost you anything to get in the program, and there's no sign up. We are thinking about some things to help us spread the word, and at events like this, we'd like to maybe get some giveaways in place or some hats or whatever. So on my webpage, I got a PayPal click, and if you want to make a donation of $5 or $10, go to www.dxmarathon.com and just click it and do what you can. So I'll see what we have at the end of this year to determine what we're actually going to do in 24. But we don't have, our program operates strictly through the donations, generous donations of our sponsors. That's it. And we have a lot of sponsors. This is not everybody, but you'll have individuals in this thing. You'll have clubs, a lot of club sponsors. Gert, PA2LO, he sponsors it. I gotta quit doing it. He sponsors the top. He sponsors the top score in Europe. The Metro. Anyway, thank God to our sponsors because they really make it go. Okay, now why are we growing? Why are we growing? Well, you know, Sun Cycle 24 wasn't too good, okay? DXing was not too good, but you'll notice even though the sunspot activity, the solar flux, you know, tanked, we stayed pretty solid, pretty solid. Why? Everybody's competing in the same playing field. If solar flux and propagation is not high, then scores just go down, but you're still competing on DX. So history has shown us that it doesn't have a whole lot of effect. Now, having said that, when 25 is coming in like a lion, see that red dot? That's the 22 results. We got an exponential curve going on here. So sunspots definitely has stimulated us. Our top band used to be 20 meters. Top band between 21 and 22 in the number of, as we analyze it, was relatively flat. 10 meters was 5x and 15 meters was 3x. That's 25 working. And you know what? It's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. So that's why we're so bullish about our growth potential of the program. This shows what cycle 25 was projected to be, and December of 22, that shows where it was. So it's coming in like a lion, and it's really, really helping DX, big time. As you might imagine, this shows you the mode mix of our submissions, and as you might expect, because of FT8, it's growing. In 2022, 72% of the 216,000 Qs were done on FT8. And CW, still hanging in there, phone tends to get less and less. And as you might imagine, this is 2022, I have to redo this, or 2021, I have to redo these for 2022, because you're gonna see, over on this side here, you're gonna see this 10, 12, and 15 is gonna go like that. These are the 2021 results. In red here, we had 807 logs submitted, represented 144,805. That's 2021 stats. 2022, we had a 32% increase. We had 1182 with 216,000. The top score was 314 in 2021. The error rate, now when I say error rate, that's not cheaters, that's mistakes. You make a 0 and 0 in a call. You're not thrown out of the program if you make a mistake. You're deducted 1 point, that's it. But you know, for people that are at the top of the hunt, you know, in most of the classes, they're separated by 1 or 2 points. So for them, it's very important. For somebody that's down in the 150, 170, big deal, no big deal. But you want to check your logs before you submit it and make sure the zone is correct on your zone. Do you know that I went through my log, I have 35,000 Qs in my log, and AD1C with this country is the best database for zones and for data in the world. Jim, AD1C out in Colorado, in Denver. QRZ, I can say this for a fact because I've checked 3 logs of my friends. They have a 1% error rate in misassigning zones. Now, why is that? Why is that? They don't assign zones. The operator assigns zones in QRZ. You got to put your zone in. Some people, believe it or not, don't know what zone they're in. The other error I found is right in the field where you put in CQ zones, they got ITU. They flipped the ITU zone and the CQ zone. So if you're using a database that queries QRZ and puts information in and tags it to the zone, and you put an ITU zone in there, you lose a point. It doesn't count. So beware of that. I found a 1% error rate in 35,000. I found almost 3,000 errors, and I went back after checking against Jim's AD1C database. I corrected every zone. So my log right now is good.
But people do move in the States.
Pardon?
People do move around in the States.
That's an excellent point, and the U.S. is the biggest problem with missed zones. We have 3 zones in the US. We've got 3 out west, we got 4 in the middle, and we got 5. A lot of times, the guy will move from Washington to South Carolina, and he'll report a 3 zone, and he should be a 5 zone. That's a mistake. If a foreign entity, mainly foreign entities work in the US, because they gotta work 3, 4, and 5. They gotta work 3 zones, they make a mistake.
Well, and if your logging program has the pre-fills like the 81C,
Yes,
I've seen that operating out of the states, working with the states during contests, and, you've got to listen. And when we've got multi-op, you sometimes have an operator take the pre-fill, but the correct is what the guy sent on the air because he actually moved.
exactly.
So, this sort of thing,
Very good
working,
point.
Working 3, 4, and 5 is not hard, but
Getting the zones right, you gotta be careful, and we tell everybody that. Check your logs, check your logs, check your logs. Out of that 1%, I didn't get your name.
yeah, right.
Ray, out of that 1%, I'll bet half of them were in the US because of what you just said. 3, 4, and 5, because of people moving. And, when you move, you are obligated by the FCC to give them your current address. Some people don't.
A lot of people don't.
Or some people do, but they don't go into their QRZ page and change the zone.
Yeah,
No, you don't need to change it. Don't they query in the FCC database for that?
No. QRZ, you manually put the zone in.
Oh,
Go to QRZ, a lot of people won't have it in there. Why don't they have it in? Because they haven't put it in.
okay.
and if you move, you have to update your county.
Right.
So if somebody's trying to,
Chase counties.
yeah. Well, because I lived in northern New York for a while, so somebody that was actually around Albany called in and said, oh, I'm in northern New York. I said, well, you're in the northern part of the state, but if you're not in these 12 counties, you're not in the northern New York section. And it was like, oh. And I said, your QRZ page is wrong because you're showing like, I'll make it up, like Nassau County. He used to live on Long Island, and now he lives near Albany and north of Albany. And you think you're in, quote, northern New York. Your congressional district is the one that's all of northern New York, but you're not in the northern New York section.
Yeah.
Because it's a weird job.
Well, as I said, Ray, believe it or not, we find people that don't know what CQ zone, participants, they don't know what CQ zone they're in. It just happens, it happens. Okay, I'm not gonna go through a lot of this, but there's lots of prizes. These are the 22, this is really amazing. I don't know if you saw on the previous page, the top group, Brazil, these 2 are Brazilian clubs, and we do accumulate club scores. If you do an individual submission on the submission page that has your club affiliation, we sum those up. So what I'm trying to do particularly now is increase the participation among clubs. It's a fun thing to do as a club. Even within your own region here, compete, set up competitions. Even for some of the larger clubs, make some subgroups and have at your annual meeting or your Christmas meeting or something, do awards based on your scores. It just gets people involved, and I think it's a super tool to do that. You can see Brazil. Look at the score there. Somehow, and we don't have the answer, but in 2022, Indonesia put together an amazing 39,000. We've never had anything that was that high. Anything that was that high. A lot of people participated. Okay. Okay. I'm going to really. I talked to this earlier. Any logging program, you generate your ADIF program, and we take that and we can convert that to the submission form. Just look at the big picture. I don't have to go through all these details. Jim has actually developed a tool for us. We work very closely with Jim in verifying calls and identifying pirates and that kind of thing. He's actually developed a tool that will take an ADIF file and convert it to the submission form. Again, I'm not going to go through this. Sebastian, my IT manager, is an IT consultant. He's actually generated a web-based tool that'll run on Mac. It's web-based. Any computer You import your ADIF file and it prints out this report. It shows your summary. It has all the entities. Not only that, it'll show whether they're confirmed or not, even though you don't need that for our program. It'll say how many entities. For example, this one here, Fiji. I worked Fiji 15 times in 2022. It's a drop down here, and if you want to change your entry, you can change your entry. And then up here, generate submission. You hit the generate submission. Boom, the submission report is generated, you save it, and you upload it to us, and you're done.
Nice.
It's a two-step process.
Very nice.
It is phenomenal. What he's going to do on the program, on our submission program, we have a lot of issues with antennas and getting definitions. Hopefully, for 2023, he's going to do some drop downs, which particularly our foreign people, sometimes they don't understand. We want to, if you claim a formula category that you're competing in, you have to adhere to the antenna restrictions. I don't think they understand that. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm translating our rule page into different languages. So on our web page, if you're in Turkey, you're going to be able to hit a Turkey, or if you're in Spain or you're in Indonesia. So I have individual hams just volunteering to translate, and we'll have hyperlinks. That may help us on the antenna, because I think some people, although they can communicate on the air, give a report in their name, they don't know the language. So how are they going to read the rules? They don't understand the rules. And I think that's a source of a lot of our issues. But this is a wonderful tool. If you do a Google on, it's www.marathonham2k.com. This is free. You can do this right now and generate your ADIF file, and it'll give you your year-to-date progress on your marathon with this report. I use DX Labs. DX Keeper, Dave, AA6YC, he has written a special part that will also give you status report on DX Labs. You just hit one button and it'll tell you all the entities you've worked and all the zones you've worked. So we got a lot of amazing help in this program. Okay, let me just hit it. All right, I'm running out of time. I want to leave a few questions. I just had a couple participants. We have a group IO page also. Paula, K9IR in Chicago, she said, for me, the marathon is a great incentive to get on the air and work DX, even though I already have all entities confirmed and have too many other fun activities to make a competitive effort. I'm very happy running my own race. See if I can improve my results and some challenge band countries and digital contacts along the way, turn into a decent effort to support my local DX club score and keep the station running in top condition. I salute those of you who dedicate the time needed to compete for the awards. This says it in one paragraph. I mean, I couldn't have said that myself. Gary, one of our board members, I won't read through this, but this is Sebastian. This is my IT guy. He says, I participate because it gives me a goal that keeps me operating all year round, but where I can also step away for a week and two and not miss much. I love contesting, but sometimes I try to get ready for one of the big ones, only to have last minute changes, wife, plans because of family or work. With the marathon, it does not matter. It has driven me to, et cetera, et cetera. This is why, to me, if you're at ham radio and you're in DX at all, it's a no-brainer. I've given you the website already. We also have a IO group. My email is WC3W@dxmarathon.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I went through this already. We're looking at doing some really neat things. We're looking at a decathlon, taking over a 5-year period the person that has accumulated the highest score and generating a reward. I mean, the recognitions are only as far as the imagination can take you, and as far as our scoring software can help us. And we've got wizards in that area right now. So I'm really excited about where our future is. So that's it.
Hurricane Ian raises hell